Hey, everybody. Welcome to Unchurched, Church for the Rest of Us. This is Katie Weaver. It is the 15th of December. We're on our way, aren't we? The holidays are really upon us. We're in the thick of it right now. I want to welcome you guys here. If you're watching this after the fact, I want to welcome you as well. I'm glad to be here with you guys this morning. So, I am streaming from YouTube Live from my Domestic Mystic account. I'm also streaming from Katie Weaver Domestic Mystic on Facebook. So, if you're struggling with one, you may be able to catch me on the other. Want to let you know that I am keeping an eye on both streams and the comments on both streams. So, if you have a question or something that you'd like to add, I will address that by the end of the broadcast. So, that's what's up. So, welcome to our gathering. Of course, this is our unchurch gathering. It's just a moment, it's a 20-minute moment for us to gather together, share a little bit of spiritual upliftment, and just love with each other for a minute. I believe it was Gandhi that said, or maybe it was the Dalai Lama, that love is my religion. Mine too. What a coincidence. I like it. Yours too, I suspect. So, I want to talk about a bit of a heady topic today because 'tis the season. So, I want to talk about grief during the holidays. Now, this is a topic that I've talked about a lot because I've had a lot of experience with it, unfortunately. But, life experiences, right? So, I want to talk about that. I wanted to share some strategies and some ideas to help yourself and to help other people. So, because what you guys, is that you have people in your world who are deep in grief right now. You have people in your world who have experienced unthinkable losses this year or in years previous who are still really struggling. All of that is true. And you may have had your own loss this year. So, I think it's a really important topic. It's important to flesh it out a little bit and talk about some strategy because it's tough. The first one, in my opinion, is the hardest one, but I don't know. Grief is a sneaky bee. She will sneak up on you when you least expect it and slap you down. And so we have to be ready. We have to think about some strategy to get through times like this in order to be able to find some of the good and suck the good out of life. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's first talk about you. If you are the person that is in deep grief or has gone through a significant loss this year or years past that still gets to you at the holidays, I have some words of wisdom and some suggestions for you. The, the very first and paramount one, I believe, is being gentle and kind with yourself, right? Not only do you have grief, you also have expectations from others, from the world, from yourself. And sometimes when you are in a place of survival mode, like you may be right now, those are hard to live up to. And this is a time for you to really evaluate what matters the most, what would actually bring you a little joy, and how to get yourself there. This is also a key time for you to evaluate who you could reach out to for help. Because I believe that most of you have people who will help you if you ask. Have people that you can confide in and say, I'm not feeling it this year. I haven't bought a single present. I don't care. So that perhaps that person can say, I get it. Maybe you don't do presents this year. Or if you wouldn't resonate well with that, can I go shopping with you or can I do your shopping? Right? We all need a sidekick like that. And it's my most fervent hope that you have one. But it is hard some years to feel it. It is hard some years to get into it. And whether you celebrate Hanukkah or you celebrate Kwanzaa or you celebrate Christmas or you celebrate the solstice or all of the above or none of the above, this time of year is loaded with expectation from your family, perhaps from your office, and probably from you. So, the very first and foremost advice I have for you is that you cut yourself some slack. You be gentle with you. You do not demand more from you than you can obviously give financially and otherwise, emotionally and spiritually. Because also, if you've been through a loss this year, it's likely that you've had some financial expectation on you as well, or perhaps some financial shakeups, right? So don't give more than you can. It's okay. It's okay. All right. So, with all of that being said, let's talk about a few strategies to celebrate the season in a way that does make sense for you. Don't pretend like everything's okay if it's not. You don't have to do that. It's okay for you to just acknowledge this is hard and it sucks. Obviously, sometimes having a great attitude works, sometimes faking it till you make it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And you shouldn't feel like you have to do that for other people's comfort level. That's something that I see a lot. I see people a lot think that they have to pretend, they have to put on a show, they have to act like everything's okay, because if not, it will make someone else around them uncomfortable. No, you're going through a lot and you don't have to worry about that right now. But some ideas to actually honor your past loved one in significant ways, in ways that might actually bring you a little joy or a little comfort or a little peace. First of all, consider putting together a bit of an altar for them. Just a little spot in your home, on your Christmas tree, on a shelf, on the table, on a dresser, wherever, right? A place that is safe, and put a picture or two and perhaps some of their favorite things and maybe anything that signifies the holidays to them. You know, if they were a huge Frosty the Nut, a Frosty. Or if they loved Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and watched it every year, great. Or whatever, right? And it doesn't have to be a holiday item, of course, but anything that you can put on that altar that symbolizes that person so that it does make you smile, so that they are there with you in some way. It does make a difference. Baking their favorite, cooking their food is huge, right? Make their favorite cookies, cook their recipes if you have them, or make them up if you don't. Make things that they would have loved to see at the holiday table, but do things that they would have loved. Cooking their food is huge. The smell of that food, the taste of it, is enormous comfort. And sometimes that's one of the best ways you can honor that person. So don't hesitate to, you know, pull out your recipe book or go to Walmart or Albertsons if that's what it takes, right? But cooking their favorite foods is really important. It really helps. So, honestly, that's one of the ones that I think is the most important. Listening to their music, whether it's holiday music or it isn't, putting their music on and listening to it. Listening to the music of that symbolizes or is significant to a person who is crossed is a really powerful way to draw their spirit close to you and to feel them deeply. So think about what that would be. Maybe build a playlist, build a dad playlist or build a mom playlist or whatever, or a whoever. Certainly doesn't have to be dad or mom, right? Maybe it's someone totally different, but build a playlist that symbolizes them. Maybe it's not even necessarily songs that were their favorites, but just ones that remind you of them. But put some music together. That's a really good strategy. Buy an ornament. Buy an ornament that symbolizes them. They were way into motorcycles, buy a Harley ornament. They were way into cooking, buy something that symbolizes that, you know? I saw the coolest ornaments the other day in AC Moore that look like a wine glass. And well, they are a little wine glass and they have liquid in them and you can tip it. Anyway, you know, I seriously considered one of the white wine ones as for a Moscato ornament for my mother. I'll probably go back and get it. But an ornament for them is brilliant. And then every year you can build on that. And maybe you put them all on your tree, or maybe you put a little tiny tree on their altar that their ornaments go on, or whatever, right? That's up to you. You decide what works for you. Hang their stocking if you have one, or make one if you don't. But it's okay to put a stocking up for them. They're still here. I know they're not here. I get it. I know. but they are still here in spirit. And you don't have to pretend like they never existed. Hang up their stocking. Maybe instead of presents, maybe you put notes in it. Maybe everybody in the family writes them a note or a letter and puts in it a progress report of sorts, right? Here's what's happened since you've been gone. Here's what I'm working on. Here's how I'm doing. Or here's a story that you would have thought was hilarious. Or here's a picture of us. And then you can just put those things in an envelope and save them for next year. Maybe over the years, that stocking gets fuller and fuller and fuller of letters, pictures, mementos, things like that. But hanging their stocking is a nice way to be able to continue to allow their spirit to live on. Nothing is more painful for someone who's experienced a big loss than everyone else pretending like they never existed. And they do it because they don't want to upset you, right? They don't want to mention that person's name because they don't want to see your tears, ultimately, because it makes them uncomfortable. And they might feel bad if they triggered you into crying, something that needs to change in our society, but maybe that's a talk for another day. But you do not have to pretend like that person never existed. That's wrong. It's not okay. So that's a few thoughts for you. Of course, talk about them, tell their stories, share some stories about them at the holidays that were fun or that were meaningful for you. Do something in their honor, some act of service or a donation. Your dad was a veteran? Seek out a veteran that needs something and help them. You know, your child was way into band, make a donation to band or donate their instrument or I mean, that's there's just so many thoughts there, but or even just a random act of kindness that in your heart you say, I'm doing this one for you today, mom. Right? It's easy. It is. And service is an enormous to fill your heart up. I believe that when you are struggling the most, service is one of the most powerful ways to move you out of it. So this year, if grief has her hold on you, perform an act of service or two. I promise it will help you at least agree. What could be greater than performing an act of service in their honor, right? It's a pretty powerful thing to do. All right. What if somebody in your world is struggling with grief? And what if someone you know has suffered some kind of unthinkable loss this year? And by the way, it might not be a human person. It could be that they have lost a pet that they are absolutely shattered over. That happens all the time. And it's one of the ones that falls through the cracks the most. Maybe they had a miscarriage. That's another that we tend to pretend like never happened. And yet the person it happened to will never quite recover from it, you know? So think about grief in the scope of not just losing a close loved one, but a larger scope. Because, of course, losing an animal, a pet, that is losing a close loved one. That's enormous. All right. But some ideas to help support somebody. It's hard. We all know it's hard. It's really hard to know what to do to support someone who's gone through a big loss, right? We get weird, we get uncomfortable. It's hard to know what to say. And again, sometimes we just start acting like that person never existed to support our comfort level. Let's not. First off and foremost, support their holiday choices. You can invite them, but don't push too hard. If they decide they don't want to put up a Christmas tree this year, don't make them. You can offer to help and say, hey, it would be fun if, what if I came over and we made cookies and we put up the tree together and we laughed and talked and drank wine and had fun? And if they want to do that, great. But if they don't be hurt. Don't make it about you. Just recognize that this is an enormously hard year for them. So support their choices the best you can. And as you do, you may discover that you become a confidant of sorts because other people have not. So it really is helpful and useful to do that for someone because sometimes people are unable to do that for themselves. And so they might be able to say to you, I don't want to go to my holiday office party and everyone's acting like I'm being selfish. And you can be the guy that says, you're not being selfish. You don't have to go. If you want a partner in crime, I'll come with you and we can you know, stand by the hors d'oeuvres table and make fun of everybody's outfits. But if you don't want to go, that's okay. You don't have to. Sometimes people need some backup. So be the heavy, right? Be the backup guy. Be prepared that plans might change. Okay, so you invited them to go with you to the Nutcracker, thinking getting them out of the house would be good for them. And at the last minute, they call and tell you they're sick, right? So maybe you're down 40 bucks in those tickets. It happens. Try not to make it about you. Just recognize they are doing the best they can. Send a thoughtful holiday card. If this is someone you're not that close to that you don't see every day, but you know is going to go through a holiday or their first maybe Christmas without their spouse or something, just do something for them. Send them a note. Send them a Starbucks gift card. Do something that acknowledges that A, I care about you, and B, I recognize that you're going through something hard and I want you to know that I do care. That's easy. And it means a ton because a lot of people won't. It's crazy how people, some of their friends, forget them and they become invisible. Consider a memorial gift or a donation. I love this suggestion. A memorial gift or donation is a great way to acknowledge that person existed, right? Make an ornament or purchase an ornament in that person's memory and to your friend or your loved one. Perhaps a donation to the whatever, the ACA or the vets or whatever, but do something that acknowledges that you too recognize that person and that perhaps you too are grieving and that you're thinking about them. Be practical, offer practical help and support. You know, if they are struggling to, buying Christmas gifts is such a hard one. If they're struggling to shop for the holidays, offer to help do it for them or take them, offer a 3 a.m. Walmart run if that's what they need to stay away from the crowds and be able to do what they do. If they don't take you up on it, don't be hurt. It's not about you, but offer. Be practical, right? Offer to do the pies or the rolls for their Christmas dinner or to do Christmas dinner for them or, you know, to go out to dinner this year or whatever. You know what to do for them, but be practical and offer some practical assistance because those are some of the things they might really need the most. When my mom died, I had a hell of a time having Christmas that year. I did. Luckily, Scott and the kids put up the Christmas tree. I think he recognized that I just didn't have it in me, I wasn't going to put one up. I had determined. I didn't care. Wasn't doing it. He did. It was good. I needed that, It's things like that a little additional support in just helping be supportive and practical is great. Now, if your friend really doesn't want a Christmas tree this year, that's cool too, right? It's okay. We're going to support those choices. All right. Listen. Listen without minimizing, without judging, and without too much advice. Sometimes people just need somebody to vent to. You might find someone that needs to tell you the entire story of how that person died. Again, it might be hard to listen to, but you can serve as that sounding board that way too many people are uncomfortable to be. So take a deep breath, let them tell you, let them spill it out, ask questions. Don't be squeamish. That is one of the biggest gifts you can give someone who's grieving. Don't be squeamish about it. Listen to all the terrible details. Let them spill it out to you. These are things that they have indelibly tattooed upon their memory. And sometimes being able to speak them to someone else makes a big difference. Sometimes being able to talk to somebody and just say, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. So that you can say, it's okay. It's okay to not know what to do or whatever it is, but be the listener as much as you can. And you don't have to you don't have to sugarcoat it. It's okay to not say, "Oh, I know, honey, but you'll be okay." Or, "Well, at least he's in a better place." You don't have to say those things. You don't. Sometimes things like that minimize people's pain and grief. It's okay to just say, "That must have been so painful. That must have been so shocking. I hear you." You know, that's okay. It's also okay to say, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say except for that I love you and I'm here for you. That's all right. because sometimes in death and grief, there is no right thing to say. It's all right to acknowledge it. Nobody expects you to be the orator of the world, right? Okay. And remember that grief doesn't just impact the first holiday season, it impacts many holiday seasons to come. So be gentle, be kind with yourself and with others who have gone through an enormous loss or a loss. I don't even want to quantify it with enormous because what to me might seem less significant might be enormously significant for someone else. There's that word again. Okay. So, those are some thoughts about grief and the holidays. And more than anything, just don't forget about people. Try. Look, I'm not here to throw guilt on you. I'm not here to make you feel terrible about what you have or haven't done for people at all. It's just a reminder and a heads up. Do a little bit of inventory. Think about who you know that could use your love and support and bring it. That's all. In any capacity that you have. I know you also are busy. You also have things on your plate. Perhaps you have some grief or some illness or some financial issues or some stress or whatever, right? Meaning that you can't just go all in to be the hero for somebody else and you don't have to be. Just remember them. That's all. Be patient, be kind with you and with others. It'll help move you through this holiday season. That's all. Okay, well, we have talked down to the end of our time. I have promised to keep this at about 20 minutes, and I'm going to honor that because I know you're busy, and I am too. Next week, this broadcast will be all about the solstice because it will be the solstice. So I'm very excited that we get to gather together on that day and celebrate together. So expect a little broadcast about Yule, about the solstice, and that's what's happening. If you would like to learn more about me, just head over to katie-weaver.com. You'll find it all right there. I wish you all a week full of ease, of peace, of joy, and of fun. Don't forget to laugh. Do something that tickles you this week, right? All right, guys, have a great day, and thank you so much for joining me.